Demet Özdemir receives Inspirational Actress of the Year award. What happened behind the scenes? Welcome to Turkish Spotlight Secrets. Before we dive in, make sure you subscribe and keep those notifications on, because today we're unpacking a story that has everyone talking. Demet Özdemir, after lighting up screens with Esref Rüya and captivating the country with her layered portrayal of Nissen, stepped onto the biggest stage of the season and walked away with the coveted title of Inspirational Actress of the Year at the 61st Golden Awards. And yes, the spotlight also found Kenyaman, whose presence and quiet strength turned a glittering night into a deeply personal chapter for the couple. We looked into the hall, the red carpet, the backstage whispers, and the hours that shaped this triumph. For years, viewers in Turkey and far beyond have tracked Demet Özdemir's rise, but the phenomenon of Esref Rüya marked a watershed moment. The series drew out a depth in her that felt both new and inevitable, as if all her experiences had led her to Nissen. She gave the characters inner turbulence and honesty that startled people. Nissen's resilience, her bruised confidence, her missteps and recoveries echoed across living rooms and timelines, as if she were carrying the secrets of an entire audience. Fans began to share how they recognized their own silences in Nissen's pauses, their own disappointments in her fragile smiles. That emotional fidelity, week after week, became the heartbeat of the show's ascent. The digital world mirrored the on-screen intensity. After each episode, social media turned into a round-the-clock salon, threads unraveled every gesture, edits reframed entire scenes, and lines from Nissen's most vulnerable moments were remixed into audio clips and stitched into TikToks that crossed languages and borders. Accounts from Spain, Italy, Brazil, and the Arab world adopted Turkish phrases with fervor, and Demet Özdemir's name trended with an endurance that few could match. The momentum folded back into her own platforms, where interactions piled up within seconds and every post felt like a shared heartbeat between a star and her audience. And then came the night that crowned that momentum. The 61st Golden Awards glowed with a particular electricity, a sense that something lasting was about to be acknowledged. As Demet Özdemir's name was called for Inspirational Actress of the Year, the hall erupted. The applause didn't feel routine, it felt grateful. She walked to the stage focused yet moved, the practiced elegance of a red carpet regular softened by unmistakable emotion. Her words were calm, but there was a tremor beneath them as she spoke about growing up guided by powerful women and now, in turn, wanting to be a source of courage for those who look to her. It was a message to young women who wonder if their voice will carry. That moment, captured from multiple angles, raced through feeds within minutes, turning the ceremony into a communal memory. Just beyond the glare, the story became more intimate. Behind the curtains, in a hum of wardrobe racks and whispered congratulations, her natural ease returned. She greeted her co-stars with laughter and quick embraces, accepted a flood of compliments from the Esref Rüya family, and thanked crew members by name. There, among friends and colleagues who have watched her shoulder the heaviness of Nissen's arc, stood Kenyaman, his stance simultaneously protective and proud. Their exchanges were unforced, a quiet language of familiarity, a hand at her back as she navigated a corridor, a glance checked and returned, a few words to steady breathing after a rush of attention. It was not theater, it was partnership on a night built on performance. Everyone who works on Esref Rüya knows how demanding it is. The emotional load is not a metaphor, it's the daily cost of telling a story that rings true. Demet Özdemir's process shows in the way scenes land with weight. She does not skim the surface of Nissen's pain, she climbs down into it and maps the way back out. Those long rehearsal hours, the character notes tucked into her phone, the conversations with writers and the director about the smallest shifts in tone, all of it compounds into one truth. When she steps into the light, she's already done the heavy lifting in the dark. The director has often remarked that she arrives at dawn with purpose, wardrobe finished before call time, and that the second the camera blinks awake she becomes something else entirely, transforms into April, and carries the charge of that identity even after the final cut. It is the discipline of an artist who builds from the inside out. Of course, the rest of the world measures a night like this by its echoes. The congratulations didn't trickle in, they surged. International fan pages stitched together tribute clips, critics posted thoughtful threads about how Nissen reframed the expectations of a primetime heroine, and local users filled the timeline with proud refrains, that the recognition was overdue, that this was Demet's year, that Esrefruya lives and breathes because of what she pours into it. The award was less a surprise than a confirmation, and it resonated far beyond the walls of the ceremony. The evening unfolded like a masterclass in spectacle even before the results. The red carpet pulsed with cameras and rushing footsteps, stylists delivering final adjustments with a sculptor's hands, flashes popping like tiny storms. Then came the shift as Demet Özdemir arrived. For days, fashion watchers had been trading predictions about her look, and she sidestepped every guess by choosing something that felt both classic and unashamedly modern, a sleek black dress, tailored to trace her silhouette without apology, with off-the-shoulder lines that framed her posture and a measured drape at the back that trailed like a breath. Beaded details caught the light in a way that suggested craftsmanship rather than excess. It was designed for this night, and everyone could tell. The verdict from style circles was swift: trendsetters follow instinct, not noise, and tonight she reminded them why her choices reverberate. Yet the fashion moment was only one note in a larger score. After the ceremony, Demet Özdemir spoke again in brief interviews, circling back to the theme that has anchored this season of her life. She explained that powerful female figures have guided her compass and that she wants her own work to pass that flame forward. She was careful, too, to credit the people who stand beside her when the cameras are not rolling, the colleagues who demand better in the rehearsal room, the crew who build a cathedral of detail around each scene, and the person who steadies her when the noise becomes too loud. That unspoken nod turned the lens toward Kenyaman, who had spent the night quietly endorsing from the wings. He had arrived not to overshadow but to amplify, greeting producers and castmates with warmth, stepping aside on the carpet to cede the frame, and later, pausing during a doorway shuffle to hand her the award box with a smile that said more than any caption. The relationship between Kenyaman and Demet Özdemir has always been a magnet for attention, and nights like this intensify the glare. But the way they managed the evening spoke volumes about balance. She was the headliner, he was the grounding presence. When the crowd condensed, he created space; when questions spilled toward them as a pair, he turned them gently back to her achievement. Observers backstage mentioned a moment when she sank onto a chair between segments, took a breath that sounded like relief and adrenaline mixed, and he leaned down to say something too soft for the microphones, and then she laughed in that way that resets a room. It was affectionate, unforced, a reminder that even in an industry built on projection, some things are best kept at a scale meant for two. On set, the dynamics are different but just as telling. The cast and crew of Esrefruya have long noticed how the demands of Nissen shape Demet Özdemir's routines. On days stacked with confrontations and collapses, she narrows her focus, crossing off a checklist of quiet rituals, a stretch beside the monitor, a reread of notes handwritten during table work, a quick murmur with the director about the exact temperature of grief needed in the next frame. The realism viewers feel is not accidental. It's the outcome of relentless calibration, of an actor's willingness to withstand the same emotional weather as her character so the story can speak without false notes. The result has been a run of episodes that draw tears, debates, and think pieces, a rare blend of mass appeal and artistic rigor. As the award made headlines, the couple handled the aftermath with grace. Kenyaman posted a short message that sidestepped gush in favor of substance, praising her craft, discipline, and courage, and followers across continents amplified his words with a flood of hearts in their own languages. He has his own gravity, of course, an international fan base, a kinetic screen presence, a career that bridges markets, but on this night, his orbit curved toward hers. They left the venue in a thrumming blur of camera clicks, and somewhere between the exit and the car, he slipped the trophy into her hands again, as if to remind her that no one could carry it better. The days that followed underscored how this project is more than a credit on a resume. Esrefruya has become a kind of pilgrimage for people who needed a character like Nissen, flawed but unbroken, guarded yet generous, a woman finding equilibrium after the earth shifts under her feet. Demet Özdemir has said that the role stretched her in ways she didn't anticipate, pushing her deeper into character work and widening the emotional span she can inhabit. That evolution is visible from scene to scene, and the audience has responded with the kind of loyalty that turns a performance into a legacy. The show's presence online swelled again, crossing the threshold from popularity into permanence. Even with the celebration, the machinery of production kept moving. Early the next morning, while the timeline still pulsed with clips from the ceremony, she was back on set. The director smiled in an interview later that day, repeating the observation they return to whenever asked about standards. Demet arrives already ready, and once the camera finds her, she is entirely Nissen. She holds that space until the work is done. The praise that followed the award, that she is not simply acting but constructing a human being, felt especially apt in that light. As for the fashion cycles, they kept spinning around the image of that black dress. Designers broke down the cut and finish, stylists posted close-ups of the beadwork, and young fans shared sketches of their own takes on the silhouette, declaring they had found their look for future occasions. The phrase of the week in style circles was that she had set the tone for the season, and even those who resist consensus conceded that her choices shape conversations. By the end of the week, what remained was not just the glow of an award, but a clearer picture of why this moment mattered. It recognized a performance that made people feel seen. It affirmed a work ethic that elevates everyone around it. And it spotlighted a partnership in which success is celebrated without competition, where two careers move forward without stepping on each other's lines. In a world that often mistakes volume for strength, the quiet gestures between Kenyaman and Demet Özdemir told a different story, that steadfast support can amplify brilliance even more than noise. And so we close this chapter the way we began it, with gratitude for a night that felt like a promise kept. Demet Özdemir's work in Esraf Rüya continues to deepen, her influence continues to expand, and the title of Inspirational Actress of the Year sits not as a finish line but as a marker on a road still unfolding. Thank you for watching and for sharing this journey with us. If you enjoyed being part of this story, like the video, subscribe to Turkish Spotlight Secrets, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next turn in this extraordinary ride. Until next time.